forces playing out from a frequency point of view that is causing the mind to feel this way. Some of it is the external forces that are pushing against you that are making you feel like this. But the thing to remember is that, you're here for a reason, and you're here to help the planet move away from this, to break free from this, to move into the next most amazing reality.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Galactic Guidance with Marcus Bird, who is our channel for a higher dimensional being called Ameed from the Lyra star system. Hello,
Yes.
Marcus.
Hey, Eleni, how are you?
I'm
Good
great.
to see you.
Can't wait to speak to
Let's see what
Ameed
happens, hey?
and see what
happens.
happens. And
Yes.
so whenever you're ready to go into a trance-like state so that you can
Yes.
bring in our beautiful off-world friend,
I will do all of that stuff. Just give me 1 second, and let's do that. And let's get into it. Ready when you are.
So what Marcus is doing right now is actually connecting to the energy of a high dimensional being living on an advanced planet. And if you need to hear as to how this came about, go back to episode 1 so that you can hear the incredible story. Marcus has been channeling this being for the last 3 decades. And I have the privilege of interviewing this being every single week, which I love.
It is much of the joyness that we are being in of the moment. Much of the sacred moment, Miss Eleni, much of the sacred moment. We have much of the joyness that we are here to be of the sharingness and be of the providing with of the information that you are wishing to be connecting with, so that you can be in of the expansive nature. For this is what we are wishing for you to be in of the doingness, is being in of the expansion of the consciousness nature. We are here to be of the sharing, so that you can be in of that expansive consciousness nature. Much love.
It's such an honor to speak to you again, Ameed. I love connecting in with you. I would actually, a question's just popped into my head right now, so I'm going to go with that, which is, lately, there seems to be what keeps popping into my field lately is suicide, in terms of events that are occurring around the planet, people I know, people who are having suicidal ideation. It seems to be a bit of a theme at the moment, which really is heartbreaking, that people are in so much pain that they feel that the only way out is to leave the planet. What do you suggest that we do when we are around people who are holding suicidal ideation as a possibility for them?
This is much of what you might be thinking of as much of the distressing information, and much of the distressing situation that you are finding many of the beings on in this of the theme park, in this of the moment. What you are finding is there's much too much of the overwhelmingness and of the stressness, and this is being of the happening because you are in of the middle of the expansion of the consciousness and of the shifting of the dimensional of the realities. And when you are being in of the center of two-dimensional realities, and you are holding on to of the more compressed dimensional reality, then you can be feeling of the pressureness, you can be feeling of the hopelessness, you can be feeling of the depths of the distressfulness. But also when you are contained within a dimensional reality and you're not allowing yourself to be in of the expansive nature, then you can be feeling that the pressure is being of the getting to you, as you would be saying, and that you are feeling of the compression and you are feeling of the tightness and you are feeling of the shrinkingness. And without of this, the release of the shrinkingness, then many of you will be thinking of, well, the only way to be of the goingness is of the outness. And this is not the only option for the necessity that you are wishing for, the release of the pressurness, the release of and the experience of the expanded nature of the reality scape. So what is of the happening is in of that pressure by not stepping into the expanded reality, and you'd be calling this of the fourth dimension or of the fifth dimension. We are not thinking of this as a linear progression, but rather an expansive spherical progression. And when you are being caught in of the two-dimensional realities, you can feel of the confusion, you can feel of the distressment. And if you are trying to be of the hanging on to the restricted, the compressed dimensional state, then this can be leading you to be thinking that the only way to be outness is to be not in this of the theme park. But this is not of the only option. If you are being letting of the go-ness of the existing or the what you might be considering of the old dimensional reality and be expanding into of the next dimensional reality, then you can be releasing of the pressure, be releasing of the distress, be releasing of these issues that you are being talking about, Miss Eleni, and therefore you can be feeling of the freedom, you can be feeling of the releasing. But many do not have this information and this understanding, therefore they are getting of the caughtness, and they are not sure if they should be moving into of the expansion, and therefore they are being trapped in of the three-dimensional aspect, the more compressed dimensional reality. And as you are being of the witnessing, you are noticing that in this dimensional reality, things are getting much more of the silliness and much more of the what you might think of as the hardness, of the distressfulness, of the containment. And this of the containment is not much of the healthiness for a sovereign of the freedomness of the being that you are. You are much more of the freedom beings, of the expansive nature beings, and therefore stepping into the next dimension of the reality scape, the next expansive reality is helping you to have more of the freedom. But we are understanding that people are being in of the stuckness. So there is many things that you can be of the doing. You can be do of the logicness, where you are being with the person and being of the assistance at a psychological level to help them to have the and see the expansive nature. And much more of the importance, you can do the energetic shifting, where you are helping them to be stepping into the expansive nature, to be able to see and experience the expansive nature. And in this moment, they can be of the more of the freedom, and then of the pressure will be of the releasing. Then they will not feel like they are being in of the stuckness, and that there may be no other way to be releasing from the theme park, that they are finding themselves of the inness. This can be much of the distressing, because when you are in of this, you are thinking you are being of the trapped, and that there is no other place to be of the going. But in of the truthfulness, if you are expanding into the next dimension of the reality scape, as one dimension begins to close, what we might be calling of the closing down, of the shrinking down, therefore you are much feeling more of the trappedness if you are being in of that dimension, rather than being in of the expansive dimension.
Is there anything else at all, Ameed, that you feel called to speak on?
This is much more of the bigness of the topic. This is one of the results of this, of the bigness of the topic. But what you are seeing is there's much more of a compression happening in of the order of the timeline. Some of you be calling it of the timeline. We are be calling it of the dimensional reality scape. And therefore, there's more of the pressure happening, because that dimensional reality scape is much more of the shrinking. So therefore, people who are existing in just of that reality scape are feeling more and more of the pressureness, more and more of the containment, and not much more less of the freedomness. And there are many things that are happening in this other dimension to be causing this exact of the experience. And part of the experience is helping you to be almost to be able to pushing you out of that dimension and into the next most expansive of the dimensional reality scape, so that you can be stepping much more of the powerfulness into that scape. But this is causing many of you to be acting in many of the mysterious ways. Much of the mysterious ways, in that you are being of the shrunken back into of the selfness, and therefore that is sometimes being of the leading to what you have been experiencing, which is much of the what we would be calling of the self of the gratification, where many are just shrinking into of themselves, and then they are thinking that everything they are saying and doing is absolutely of the truthness and absolutely of the rightness, rather than being in of the expansive nature and being able to see much more of the collective conscious experience, much more of the connected, co-creative, and of the collaborative experience. So when the pressure is being forced into that of the dimension, because the dimension is of the compressive nature, many are being pushed into of themselves. This into of themselves can be of the helpful nature if you are utilizing expanded states of consciousness, where you can be of the awareness. But if you are not of the awareness, then you are shrinking into of yourself, where you are thinking that everything that you are experiencing, everything that you are imagining, everything that you are thinking, all of the beliefs and of the realities is of the truthfulness. But you are then not considering the others that are of the around you, and you are not considering any of the other opinions, because you are so much of the compression and of the shrinkiness into the self, that is the only truth that is of the existing. And it matters not what others are being saying to you, and even if they are trying to help you to be in of the expansion, you may not be seeing of the expansion. You are just believing that whatever you are experiencing is the only thing that is of the truthfulness, and this is not of the case. So much of this is being of the assisting you to be in of the expansive nature, and some will come on this of the journey, and others will not come on in of the journey. This is much of the importance in this of the moment, is that you are being of the expansive nature into the more spherical, expanded dimensional reality scapes, and be sitting in of that reality scape. One of the ways that you would be of experiencing this is very much like you are sitting on in of the atmosphere, rather than sitting in of the earth. You are sitting in of the atmosphere, and you are looking back down on the earthscape, and you are saying, that is what the earthscape looks like. I can see all of the picture here. I can see exactly what is happening. I have much more connection with of the truth. But when you are in of the earthscape, when you are on of the earthscape, you are not seeing of the truth any longer. You are just seeing what you are seeing, and of the smallness in and of the aroundness. And therefore you are thinking that everything that you're experiencing in of the aroundness is of the truth. But this is not of the case, because as the dimensional and reality scapes being in of the compression, then what you will be finding is that there is much more a fraction and breakdown of the truth of the reality scape. So it is important that if you are going to be doing of that exercise, is that you imagine that you are sitting on the in of the atmosphere, or even outside of the earth, and you are looking back in, and you are sensing into the reality scape that is now unfolding, and you are feeling into the resonant frequencies of the reality scape, of what is of the truthfulness now, what is of the unfolding in of the now, because this is very much of the difference than what has been of the unfolding. So if you can be in of the expansive nature, then you can be seeing of the much deeper of the reality scape and of the truthfulness. And you will be relieving of the pressureness. You will be releasing all of that of the pressureness. And you will be feeling much more of the freedom, much more of the freedom.
So, Ameed, I've just got a question from something you've said, which is that some people will be coming along and taking the most expansive path, and others will not. What will be of the ones that will not?
When you are sitting in of the expansive nature, you will be understanding of the transient reality of this existence on this in this of the theme park. Therefore, some will be making of the decision to be transitioning out of this of the theme park, and they will be moving on to whichever of the theme parks they are choosing to be in of the next. This of the assignment, this of the mission that you are being of agreeing to when you are coming into this moment in of the timescape, was not of the easiest mission that you could have been of the choosing, but you are much more of the excitement to be here in this of the moment, and therefore you are being a part of the expansive nature. But you must be of the remembering that some have been coming in on this mission, what we might be calling of the mission, and then they are getting into the hardest part of the mission, which is what is happening in this of the moment, and then they are deciding, I'm not thinking I'm liking this. I am thinking that I'm not much of the helpfulness because I am being trapped in of the dimensional scale, reality scape, and I cannot be expanding of the pastness because I am so trapped in of the human of the experience that I can no longer be of the expanded nature. So therefore I'm going to be choosing to be assisting at some other dimensional level of the experience, and therefore choosing to be of the shifting and of the transitioning into the next dimensional reality scape and into the next of the theme park, if that's what they are being of the choosing. So therefore there are some that are fully of the embracing of the mission, and we are understanding that you are feeling into of the hardness of this mission that you are being of the agreeing to, and some are being of the choosing not to be in of the mission because they cannot be breaking free from or expanding past into the next dimensional of the reality scape. And all of the beings that are being in of the existence in this moment are in of the assistance in one of the forms or the other of the forms. You will be much more of the understanding once you are being fully in of the transition. But in this of the moment, you must understand that some are choosing to continue in of the mission and some are choosing not to be continuing in of the mission. And both of these choices are absolutely of the okayness, and they are also helping in of the expansion of the consciousness state. Those that are being in of the transition are expanding back into the consciousness reality. Those that are choosing to continue of the mission can be utilizing this experience to continue in of the expansive nature, and continuing to expand of the consciousness, and therefore you will have much more of a connection to those that are being here in of the mission and those that are choosing to not be here in of the mission. Either way, there is much of the assistance to continue to expand of the consciousness state, to continue to step into a next of the dimensional reality scape.
Thank you, Ameed. Thank you so much.
Much is the loveness. And if you are being in of this experience, we are sending much of the loveness. And when you're being of the understanding that there is much more of the expanded nature of the reality scape, then you can be of the what you might calling of the setting of the freeness, and you can be of the relaxingness, and you can be of the expanding of the fullness of the who you are. Then you can be much of the activated into the mission that we have been talking of the aboutness, but much of the remembering of the loveness and of the joyness. This is much of the importantness when you are feeling of that containment and of the what you might be thinking of the preciousness. You must be of the remembering of the loveness and of the joyness. This will be of the assisting to bring you back into of the centerness and allow you to then continue of the expansionness. You might be thinking this is of the journey or of the pilgrimage. This is much of what is being of the happening is that you are on of the journey and on in of the pilgrimage. And if you are sensing into of the preciousness, then you are being with the loveness and of the joyness, and that will be of the gateway to help you to be in of the expansiveness. Much of the love, much of the joyness.
Thank you.
Oh, how did you go? How did we go? How
Bit of
did it go?
bit of a heavy topic, but it's
Yeah.
the first thing that dropped into my mind.
Well, it's a good topic then.
Yeah. So Ahmed talked about that the current timeline is compressing
Yeah.
and people are not able to well, they feel that they're not able to withstand the pressure.
Correct.
And so they're
Yeah.
opting
Yeah.
out. But
Yeah.
I don't know about you, Marcus, but I'm hearing this a lot lately. Like, it's
Yeah.
not just the media. Last night I went to a professional speakers
Okay.
talk
Right.
here in Adelaide, and the speaker was the Health Commissioner of South Australia,
Right. Right.
and another one was a stand-up comic. Both of them
Okay.
said they have daily suicidal ideation.
Jesus. Okay.
Both
Wow.
both speakers. This is
Wow.
something that, like, one of them, the comic has, the stand-up comedian has a tattoo on his arm that reminds him every day, not today, not today.
Holy moly.
There's
Yeah.
people that
Yeah.
I know from within my extended family that have talked about it, and there's a couple of famous
Yeah.
people that I know,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know, that have actually carried it out. And so,
Yes.
yeah, what do you have to say
Yeah.
about
I mean, it's just that pressure, I think, as Ameed was saying, there's just huge compression that's playing out right now. And the other thing that I think makes it difficult is that we are sort of existing in two timelines, right? So, and that's difficult because, in a perfect world, we just jump to the timeline and everything would be blissful or more blissful or whatever we want to think. But we have to, even if we've stepped into that, we still have to keep dropping back down into the other to do the practical things,
that?
paying taxes and our bills and rent and mortgages and living and stuff, and in the next dimensional timeline, those things are different. They're not as heavy, they're lighter. And so some people are stepping into that next timeline of feeling the lightness, but then looking back down going, oh my God, I've got to go back down into there. And there's just so much stuff playing out in that realm, and it looks harsher. So some of the other pressure points that happen when you put under pressure is things look harsher, and the things that weren't obvious before that are of a non-truth or non sort of reality are now seen, right? So for example, the scandal with the supermarkets and businesses, right? And so what we're seeing now is how businesses are taking advantage of people and caring less about people. Those sort of things are becoming more and more obvious, right? Um, and so the black and whiteness is now not sort of, it used to be sort of a grey white. Now it's black and white. And so there's this obviousness that's playing out, and that can have people feel, I don't want to be part of that. So the other thing is if they're not seeing the next dimensional sort of reality and they're thinking that this is the only one that exists, then a lot of people I think are going, I don't want to be a part of this. This is horrible. This is horrible. Just the fact of those things that are playing out, let alone all the other pressures you've got to deal with, but almost that non-caring environment.
So
That's
if someone
horrible.
is holding those thoughts, who's listening to this program, what do you have to say to them directly, Marcus?
Yeah, I think that I think it's important first and foremost to speak to someone, to talk to someone, to tell someone, and not to suffer in silence, by yourself, holding the whole thing together. I think it's important to talk to a trusted source or someone, even if it's just anybody you can talk to and share. And then, once you're sort of at least admitted it or shared it with someone, you can sort of start working through, well, what's really going on, and ask that question, what's truly going on, apart from me feeling depressed and sad and like I don't want to be here anymore, to try and work through that deeper aspect of, okay, what's really happening here? And is it coming just from me, or is it coming from other sources as well? There's a lot of influence playing out right now also, right?
Yeah, yeah.
That is a little bit crazy, right? So I don't want to talk too deeply about about those things because I know the platform this is going on, and we'd probably get shut down. So, but there are all sorts of forces playing out from a frequency point of view that is causing the mind to feel this way. So again, the first thing is you get help, right? You go talk to someone or work with someone or just get help, right? That some of this is probably not you. Do you know what I mean? Like some of
Yeah.
it's not you. Some of it is the external forces that are pushing against you that are making you feel like this. But the thing to remember is that, you're here for a reason, and you're here to help the planet move away from this, to break free from this, to move into the next most amazing reality. And what do they say? There's always the darkest before the dawn or something. It's always darkest before the dawn. So the key with this is, to get help, to start talking and to realize that maybe you're really close to a breakthrough. Maybe you're really close to setting yourself free and stepping into that next dimension of reality. To know that, you came here for a particular reason right here, right now. And therefore the world needs you, right? Even if you feel the world's against you right now, which to some degree at the old dimension, it sort of is. So some of it's not you, right? Because I think sometimes people think, oh, this is all me and I'm obviously sick or wrong or blah, blah, blah. But I don't necessarily think that's 100% true. I think there's all sorts of influences playing out. And there's lots of different help you can get. So, there's lots of help you can
I
get.
think that's an important point, that it's not necessarily our energy. The other night, as I was having a bath, I felt this wave of fear just move through me, and I'm like, what is this? And then as I just sat there, I actually realized that it wasn't mine.
No.
And I made some affirmations to get rid of it. But had I not been so quiet, and had I not been in a meditative state, and had I been distracted, and had I been busy, I would have thought that was mine.
Yeah, without a doubt. Yeah, I don't think it is. I think there's a whole lot of stuff going on that is not you, that is causing you to feel like it's you. I think there's a whole lot of stuff, and we know that's the case. We know that happens because I don't know, how far do we talk about this? But, even in situations that were here in Melbourne, in some of the, during the sea experience, that, the powers that be were using frequency generators to change the consciousness of crowds. There's photos of it. There's proof of it, right? So you go, okay, if they're doing that, what else is going on? And how much is this you, or how much, and those sort of frequencies or those sort of things play on the sort of weak spot in your brain, right? So we all have, we've all had a life, right? Some of it's been good, some of it hasn't been good. We've all got a bit of, stuff left over from children, maybe some worse than others for sure. And this sort of stuff activates some of those things, right? So then it highlights those things, it amplifies those things that maybe you've already looked at and dealt with, theoretically, maybe thought you dealt with, and now it's coming up again. And I think there's all sorts of things that are playing out right now. Again, I don't want to allude to too much, but
yeah. Okay. Well, that's just food for thought.
Yeah.
If you are feeling
thought.
sad, if you are feeling like you're in so much pain, someone, anyone, and that person is not going to necessarily solve anything. It's just getting it out of your system.
Totally.
Two, ask yourself, does this belong to me? Because you might find that in contemplation and meditation, it actually doesn't.
No. And so just give it back, and stand strong in who you are. And again, you're here for a reason, right? And it takes time to maybe find that reason, but just know that, you came here for a purpose, for a reason, for part of the mission or whatever. And right now we need your help. Join some groups, get involved with some groups that maybe talk about this, so that you can open up to the possibility of other things playing out and other things going on, and start to expand your consciousness, be open for new things. I mean, if you're listening to these channel messages, you're obviously opening up, right? Because otherwise you wouldn't be listening to channeling, because that would be too strange and weird. So this is good, and you just keep expanding. That's another important part. So yeah,
and
cool.
Marcus has got beautiful communities that you could connect into, and the links are all below.
Yeah, absolutely. Likewise as you, Eleni, but definitely get help. All right, make sure you get help. That's a key. So because you're worth it, and you are lovable, and you are worthy, and it is time.
Beautiful words to end the episode.
Thank you, Eleni.
And
no worries. We'll see you soon. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you for tuning in to Galactic Guidance. We hope that the messages that you receive from the higher realms have brought you clarity, insight, and comfort. Please like this video and subscribe to this channel. Remember to stay connected to your own inner guidance and trust the journey ahead.